How can it be that Social Security statistics say that 95% of the people in the United States will retire and not be financially stable? That means there's only 5% that will be financially secure at the age of retirement. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to be the 5%. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you how not to be the 5%. I'm gonna show you how to be the 1%, because out of those 5, there is only one that is wealthy, and that is gonna be you. So stick with me, because I'm gonna show you how to eliminate the 95% mentality and how to get into the 5% mentality that you are the wealthy one. My name's Chris Naugle. This is What Now? What's next? One of the biggest struggles I think people have, including what I used to think, is that simple feeling of being stuck. The simple feeling of never being able to climb out of the hole that we've created. And a lot of that comes down to what we've done with money. When we make money, we basically try to save some of it, whatever we can, which is roughly 5 to 7% in this country. But the other thing we've done is we've gone out and borrowed. And they've made it so easy for us to finance all the things we want in our lives, from cars to homes to lifestyles to vacations. We can finance everything. And every single time we finance something, we articulate it in our minds as a monthly expense. And that's how we've been taught to live. We make money, how much we make per month, and then how much can we spend. And at the end of the day, so many people get that spending part a little bit wrong. We spend too much, we create too much debt, and then we're trapped. And we literally get trapped in this little vicious cycle. I look at it like a hamster wheel. Why can't the hamster just get off the wheel? Well, the same thing with us. We've spent our way to this problem, and we just have never been taught the way off of the hamster wheel. And the way off of that hamster wheel is so simple. It involves one thing. And that one thing is where your money goes first. I think one of the easiest ways to really look at this is from statistics. If you look at statistics of the American family spends 30% of the money they make on interest and fees. And how much do they save of that? Let's say we take a full dollar, 100% of a dollar. 30% of that dollar goes to interest and fees. And how much of that money is getting saved? It's 5 to 7%. And it is actually less during recessionary periods. So you can see the discrepancy right from the statistics. The biggest problem is we give away our money. We give up control and we give away too much of our money, and we save too little because we haven't been shown that. We haven't been shown how to keep the money. Therefore, we constantly feel trapped by this cycle that we put ourselves in, and the cycle that we've been taught to be in, to be quite honest. Another problem that stems back to, say, 30 years ago, but it goes farther back, is also the fact that there's a lack of education when it comes to how money really works. We're not taught about money. We're not taught about budgeting. We're not taught on how to make our money work for us. We're simply taught how to go out there, get a job, and earn money. But if that's all we're taught is how to earn money, and we do know that. We know how to make more and more and more money. But if we can't control and keep that money, what good does it do? It simply puts us back in that race of giving up control of our money every time we make more. We make more, we spend more. We make more, we spend more. We don't make more and keep more. And therein lies one of the problems, but it is, again, back to conditioning, back to what we're taught from a very young age. I think there was a defining moment in my life where I really kind of had a light bulb go off. And that moment came from failure. You see, I've failed so many times in my life. This was really not just a second, but this was like the final failing point where I was brought to my knees. And I was brought to my knees. I was deeply in debt. I didn't know what I was working for. There were so many things that went wrong. And I remember I went to a seminar, and I remember at that seminar, there were 2 incredibly wealthy individuals putting this seminar on. And I remember listening to them and vividly thinking to myself, what they're talking about is the complete opposite of everything I'd been taught. Even as a high-level financial advisor, everything I was taught was the opposite of what they were doing. And at that very moment, I realized something was wrong. And I realized I needed to seek out the knowledge that I needed. I needed to learn how money really worked. And at that point, that's when I started going down the rabbit hole, if you will, of chasing down wealthy individuals, billionaires and multimillionaires to find out what they do different with money. And when I learned the secrets and when I saw how simple it was, I felt obligated. I literally felt a true moral obligation to go out and teach the world the truth about how money works. And that leads me to now. I think a big question I get asked a lot is, what makes you the expert? What gives you the credibility to teach people how money really works? And, that's an interesting question with, a short and a very long answer. So I'll give you the short answer. And really, I think it comes down to, first and foremost, I have failed enough times to figure out the truth. I have also been a financial advisor for over 16 years. I was a high-level advisor, and I saw that side, the Wall Street side, if you will, and I learned what worked and what didn't work, and I also learned the traps with that. So that's another thing that qualifies me. And also, one other thing is I've spent unbelievable, nauseating amount of time learning what the wealthy do by interviewing them, by having them on podcasts and being on their podcast, by asking the hard question of talking about money. We've always been taught, even when I was a kid, don't talk to people about money. That's not right. Well, that's all I do now is ask and talk about money. And once you talk about it, the truth comes out. So when you ask, why am I qualified? Well, because I've done it, I've failed at it, and because I've seeked out the truth from the source. And lastly, I've read a ton of books talking about this, and a lot of people just don't seek out that knowledge. Wealth is a difficult word, and wealth can be defined a lot of different ways, but its simplest form, I think, is true wealth is freedom. When you really ask the question, it really can also mean that there's an underlying problem, which could be deeper relationships. It could be more personal growth. It could be your inability to chase your dreams. But wealth truly is nothing more than freedom. One of the things I've often looked at is I've looked at the wealthy. Let's take a billionaire. And I've compared them to just a working class man. And what are the underlying differences between the two? So the billionaire absolutely positively is in control of their wealth and their money. And the middle class American might be in control of a small fraction of their money, but has been taught to give up most of the control of their money. Then we keep going from there. The billionaire understands how to make their wealth and their money work for them. Where the average middle class, like I was, doesn't understand how to make their money work for them. They think that making their money work for them means giving up control to somebody else, and somebody else is going to grow their wealth. But there lies a big problem, because no one cares more about your money than you do, and about your wealth than you do. The other big thing that I think is different is the average middle class typically works for somebody. Okay, they're not self-employed, so they don't go out and chase their dreams. They work for someone they have conformed. Therefore, there's always a cap on what they're going to be making. Unless they're in sales, there's really no cap on sales. But if you look at the billionaire typically is going to be self-employed. Some have multiple businesses, and those businesses are there to function as another revenue source, another ability for their money to be working, because it takes an investment to make money. So they invest in their businesses, which makes their business incomes grow. Where if you work for somebody, your income can only grow based on the amount of hours you have to work, the effort you put in, and there's only so much time in the day. So if we restrict ourselves to time, then how can we build wealth? And then add to that one last thing. Most people, like I've said, spend most of the money they make. We make more, we spend more. The billionaires, the wealthy, make their money work for them, and then they spend the money that their money made. There's a key difference in that. So a lot of people ask, what is the infinite banking concept? It's really a process more than it is anything else. And it's a process in which it allows an individual to take control of their money by maximizing its leverage. Instead of financing investments or large purchases like cars and houses, infinite banking concept would basically allow you to finance your projects while still earning the interest. And instead of giving the interest away, you pay yourself the interest. In essence, it's you becoming the bank. Let me give you an example. Let's say you had saved money over here on your left side. And in your left hand, you have all your money that you've saved. And over on your right hand, you have the things that you want to buy. Most people, when they have their savings, they don't use their savings to acquire the things that they want. They finance the things that they want. But in the infinite banking concept, what it would essentially be doing is using your own funds, using leverage of your own funds to then buy the things you want. But instead of just buying them and calling it a day like we do when we use savings, what you would do is you would take the same interest and payments that you would have paid to the bank, the credit card company, or the finance company, and you would pay that back to your banking system, which is your savings. So if you changed where your money went first, and your money went into your privatized banking system, essentially that is infinite banking in its essence, privatized banking. If you started there and you took that money and you financed the things that you buy with your own money, but then you paid yourself back with interest, you would change the entire dynamic of your future, because now your money is working harder, smarter, and more efficiently for you. The other cool thing about the infinite banking concept and the dividends is the tax advantages for them. You see, in an insurance company, the IRS does not consider life insurance dividends to be a taxable income. They actually consider this as a return of premium. Therefore, the policy owner gets these dividends in a tax-favored basis. If you receive dividends in your stock account, you'd have to pay tax on them. But in the insurance account that we're talking about, this specially designed whole life, the dividends that are paid to you, they're just a return of your premium. Therefore, there is no taxes on that money if you do it properly. So a lot of times I think about, why are people failing? What is the reason why so many people are stuck financially? That really kind of goes down to the root of why they do what they do. So why is it that most people are giving away 90 cents of every dollar they make? Well, it's conditioning. It's what they've been taught. It's what they've learned their entire lives. I was no different. When we want to buy something, we just go buy it. We don't think of the impact that that monthly payment is going to have on their lives. And because of that, we get stuck, because at a certain point, we realize that more money is going out than what we're saving. And it really comes down to the simplistic values of, we're not taught how to do a budget. We give away too much of the money that we make because we've never been taught how to actually keep the money that we have. I think one of the biggest problems with the infinite banking concept, or privatized banking as a whole, is throughout our entire lives, we're taught and we hear from the gurus that whole life insurance is a bad place to put your money. I think some of these gurus say whole life insurance is a terrible investment, which I agree, because it's not an investment at all. An investment involves risk, and whole life insurance is guaranteed. But the other reason is, a lot of the people that could teach the infinite banking concept are financial advisors, the bank advisors, life insurance agents. And one of the biggest problems comes down to compensation. You always have to follow the dollar. And to do the infinite banking concept, to make it work for banking, that requires the person that's writing the insurance contract, the specially designed whole life, to take a reduction in their commission of up to 60 to 90%. So let me ask you, would you be willing to give up 60 to 90% of your income to help somebody solve their money problem? The answer is probably no. Well, that's what's required, and that's one of the reasons this has remained a secret of the wealthy for so long. How can people not know about the infinite banking concept? If this is literally such an amazing concept, why is it that most people don't know about it? Well, it's quite simple. Nobody's ever taught you about it. Again, going back to follow the dollar, there's no money in this. There's no money for the advisors. There's no money for the bankers. There's no money for the insurance professionals to teach you this. And also, it's a banking concept that's been around for hundreds of years, used by the wealthiest families, used exclusively by banks and big corporations. So why is it that they know about this and we don't? Well, it comes down to lack of knowledge, lack of education, and first and foremost, mindset. We have been taught to resist things, and we never ever understand that maybe, just maybe, this vehicle can be used a different way than what it was designed for. So one of the simple ways we use the infinite banking concept is, I want you to think of where your money goes. Let's just pretend or imagine that you have a credit card that you're paying 20% interest. This isn't really an imagination. This happens every single day. And every single month, you make monthly payments to that credit card at a rate of 20%. You're not keeping that 20%. The credit card company is getting that. Now, with the infinite banking concept, because we changed where your money went, imagine now we take the money from your banking policy and we pay off that 20% credit card. Now, you no longer have to pay for that credit card every month, but what if we did continue to pay for that credit card, except for the amount you were giving the credit card company, you paid to yourself? How would you like to make the 20% that you're giving away? You'd like that? Well, that's what the infinite banking concept can do. Whatever money you're giving away, you can recapture that same interest rate using this system. So if you'd like to make 20%, you don't have to work any harder. You don't have to work any longer. You don't have to go out there and lose control of your money. All you need to do is change one thing, and apply the infinite banking concept to your life. You know, my favorite quote is from Will Rogers, and he says, the biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. He says the biggest problem is what people think they know that just ain't so. If you liked this video, check this video out where I roast Dave Ramsey when he's trying to explain why the infinite banking concept is a scam.